The best of the best have got the following. What's your goal for the next 6 months?
Chris Hanley from Byron Bay, First National, second time on the real estate gym, and why wouldn't we have, when this guy is one of the godfathers of real estate, quarter of a century in Byron Bay. Chris, welcome back. They loved your interview so much the first time, and why wouldn't they? When you actually are straight shooting, you say it as it is, but the most important thing is, mate, you've had over 2 decades like 35-40% market share in your area.
Yeah, we have, Tom. It's probably the thing we're all proudest of in our business, and particularly in view of the last 2 years, probably even the best 2 years I've seen in business. Our market's as strong as I've seen, and we've managed to maintain that market share. There's an awful lot of opposition, a lot of good offices in our area, so we're really proud of that.
Yeah. Chris, we're going to unpack over 3 videos. We're going to unpack what you see real estate success is in 2017. And I want to start off with, and you said to me before we went on camera, you said, Tom, there's all these things, conferences, ARIC, training seminars, people writing notes, but you said there's one core thing that people keep forgetting about what this is. What is it, Chris?
Trust. We're in the trust business. Our core product is trust. It isn't houses. It is people, but our core product is trust. And when I go to a lot of conferences and so on lately, I hear some great speakers, and I want to compliment you. For ARIC last year is the best one I've been to, and there's a lot of people there spoke about being authentic and being connected and being trustworthy. But I think in some instances people think being trustworthy is something you can wake up one day and decide, I'm going to go out and be trustworthy, like you change your suit colour or your shoes. For me, being trustworthy is something that you do your whole career, and that's how you build connections, and that's how you expand your community.
So you're saying if someone says, oh, pick me because I'm trustworthy, they're probably not, if you're saying
Correct.
It's trust is a behaviour thing. It's just the way that you are.
It is. It's like saying to a vendor in a listing presentation, do you want me to be honest, or I'm going to be honest with you now. It's too late once those words get out of your mouth. And trust is something that you exhibit to people over a period of time by doing things, usually things for free in our industry, where you give people information that makes them smarter. The focus of building communities and connections is helping people get smarter so they can choose the right agent, and you hopefully will be that right agent if you've got the right skills.
So Chris, you said something there which is the ability to give people free stuff and earn the right because people see this frequency of trust happening there. But what do you say to that agent who says, I need to get paid now, and what I've got to do is I've got to give free stuff. I mean, it's a challenging thing in real estate, because on the one hand, people want to do something and get a reward for it. What do you see? Why do some people have this ability to do that, to be able to do things and not be fussed about getting something in return of people?
That's a values question, which is an interesting question. You don't often get asked that in real estate, so I'll unpack that 2 different ways. The free stuff you give them is information, because on the internet, 90% of the information in our industry is available to everybody. So you go into a soul gallery, or you go into any place, and you can get that information. The most valuable information is the stuff in our head, right? The stuff that's just happened, the stuff that isn't in a soul gallery. Now, that's the information that people need. So that's the first thing, is it doesn't cost you anything to give that to people. Right? You can provide it by face-to-face meetings, you can ring them up, or you can do all sorts of stuff. The second thing was a question about why do some do it and some don't. I would profess there, or put forward the argument, that not everybody understands how to build trust and how to connect with other human beings. You meet people in life outside real estate, outside business, who aren't any good at connecting, right? Socially, they're awkward. Well, the real estate's the same. You get these people who I don't really believe understand the industry they're in. Trust is our core product. You build trust, whether it's with a doctor or a dentist or a tradesman. The question I always ask someone is, why did you trust that doctor? Why did you trust that builder? Why did you choose that architect? And nearly always they'll tell you there's something about them.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is that all of this comes down to the type of people we recruit in real estate. If you recruit trustworthy people by asking them a bunch of questions to establish that, you don't have to explain this to them because they get it, that they are trustworthy.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way you articulate it, and a lot of the audience, Chris, love to know, what does a business as successful as your business in Byron Bay do with their marketplace to show trust? Like, what information do you give?
Great question. The two primary things you do is, the first, you make a decision with the business to either sit on the outside of your business and be a normal business, or to sit in the middle and put down deep roots. So firstly and consciously, we made a decision 2 decades ago to be involved in the community, but separate from our real estate business, to do a pile of community things. Now, we support all these community events and organisations. We have given money for 20 years out of the money we make in the business to everything from schools to youth activity service. So we are forever operating in a non-business space. So my staff and myself people see us operating in that community space. That's the first thing. The second thing we do is we communicate using digital material like everybody else, by giving people information that isn't necessarily just about real estate. We give them information about festivals and conferences and changes in the laws in our area, and we focus on photography or digital images. We do all sorts of things, but without always just focusing on trying to get a listing or trying to get a buyer.
Okay, so Chris, is that done on a monthly? What do you do? A monthly,
weekly.
a weekly? So what do you send a weekly?
We got a platform that we built. Took us a long time, but in essence, what we do. One of the great mistakes in real estate, Tom, is that people categorise people into buyers and sellers, and a buyer at level, the buyer at level.
Hot,
that's
medium.
That's all crap.
Yeah.
The greatest thing you can do in business is forget all of that, put everybody in the same tub. It makes it easy. You don't have to worry about it, and give them all a similar message. Buyers and sellers and buyers are the same people. So what you do is you give them information that makes them smarter, and you send it out to them regularly. But you don't send ego info. The mistake that a lot of young agents make, someone tells them, you send out this and tell people how good you are and how many sales you make. That the buyers and the sellers don't want that. Then they hit the unsubscribe button. What you do with your e-communication is you do what every business does, and you taste test. So you send out information over time, and I've got it wrong. Well, when the GFC hit in 2008 to 2013 in our market, you couldn't give a house away.
Yeah.
It was the hardest market I've seen in 35 years. Now, I had to be careful how to communicate with our database during those 5 years, really careful. They needed support, and they were very intelligent, and they were very tuned to my emails and things that I sent out. I learned very much there what to write and what not. You don't scare people, you don't use, you don't exaggerate things, you just be transparently clear about your message, and it builds trust over time. So people call you in, whenever they're thinking of selling, they call your salespeople in.
So what you're saying is, a listing that becomes a sale, that becomes a commission, is the applause you get for years of being the ecosystem, the connector in your community, of providing information, doing stuff, and that is just the manifestation of people, when they're ready to do business, that they feel these guys are different.
Well, I've never heard the word applause, and it's a fantastic way of describing it, because that's what it is. It's a celebration, but it's also an acknowledgement that you've helped them over the years, so they will call you in. Tom, this year in 2016 in our market, the agents who've made the money this year are the ones that have controlled or at least had adequate stock. And we've listed nearly as many properties this year as we did last year, because of the database and because we get called in most of the time to at least do the listing presentations. If we're good enough, we'll get the business. Now, I can tell you 80% of the listings that we get, 80% come off our database. I've been database researching and testing my database for 15 years. We started with white cards. We're just in the process of changing our CRM, but we've been using them for 15 years, and I can tell everyone out there listening to this, if you're patient, if you give them good information, if you follow it up with face-to-face and real conversations, they will call you in.
Okay. Chris Hanley from First National Byron Bay, you've listened to it. He's playing the long game, he's playing the trust game, and he's actually doing it, not saying it. Thank you so much, Chris. Heaps of learning there, but as I say, ideas without execution are delusions. It's what you do after the video that really matters.